Greetings, my name is Mike Wright, I'm 28 and I'm currently studying at Red and Yellow. At the end of last year, I took a leap of faith. I left the media industry to pursue a career as a butcher. Working in a butchery taught me many things. It taught me that I adapt fast, I work well in a team, but the most important thing it taught me is that I'm not meant to be a butcher. After realizing this, I moved back to Cape Town to pursue a career in an industry that I'm actually made for, marketing and advertising. While I'm no expert in butchery or marketing, I've prepared 5 simple marketing lessons from my time in the butchery that you can take home with you today. Lesson number 1, the difference between sharpening and honing a knife. Sharpening is when you take a worn down blade and strip away the rounded part so that only a sharpened edge remains. Each time a sharpened edge is used, the very thin edge will curl and bend, making the knife feel dull. By running a honing steel along the blade, the curled edge straightens, making the knife feel sharp again. This is called honing. The major difference between the two is that honing can be done on the job, standing behind your chopping board, while sharpening requires you to step away from production, clean your knife, and use a grindstone. In butchery, it's very easy to feel when your knife needs sharpening. However, in marketing, it's harder to know what's cutting. For example, this year alone, TikTok's marketplace flipped the traditional marketing funnel on its head by including in-app purchases, turning TikTok from a place of awareness to a place of conversion too, completely changing how we need to see the app. Additionally, if you look at the 2024 meme cycle, memes and trends are expiring quicker than ever these days, sometimes going stale in under 48 hours. If you jump onto a stale trend, your brand can look out of touch, often doing more damage than good. Both of these examples highlight how learning on the job isn't enough to cut through everything that is being thrown at us these days. If we want to stay sharp in this digital world, we have to step away from production to sharpen ourselves. And don't worry, if you look at the knife sharpness graph, the sharper you are, the more effective you are, and the more you'll get done, so don't be afraid to step away from a bit. Lesson number 2. I want you to imagine the biggest piece of meat you have ever seen. Now times that by 10. Our job at the meat processing room was to trim and slice these massive hunks of meat, preparing them for biltong. No matter how hard I tried, I kept messing up, trimming off too much meat, leaving rough, jagged lines behind. The harder I tried, the worse I got. One day, Auntie Jackie, one of my favorite people I've ever met, told me I needed to relax my shoulders and trust the process and let the knife do all the work. So I followed her instructions, slowed down, and started keeping up with everyone else. The Navy SEALs say it best: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. The exact same goes for creativity, ideas, and gaining human insights. As technological changes increase and deadlines accelerate, we keep forcing our ideas and rushing the creative processes that make us special. One of the few advantages we have over AI is we can connect random dots in the real world, uncovering unexpected insights and turning them into meaningful and impactful work. But the only way to do this is to slow down. Yo-Yo from MNC Saatchi said it best: AI can't have a beer. AI can't spend time in a bar and observe random people from different walks of life interacting with each other, but we can. At this year's Nudge Stock, Rory Sutherland gave a speech titled, "Are We Now Too Impatient to Be Intelligent?" explaining how the world has prioritized urgency over meaning for too long. He gave a great example of how Starbucks set a rule in place that limits their baristas to making 2 coffees at a time. By slowing down the coffee process, consumers felt like they were receiving a superior product, and Starbucks became more valuable in their eyes. Both examples show how slowing down can create deeper meaning and value. So, in a world that's constantly speeding up, we as humans with minds need to do the opposite. Lesson 3. This one is simpler, I promise. In the butchery, there was an enormous meat trolley that had 1 wheel missing. To make matters worse, there was a huge hole in the floor. Each time we moved the trolley around the room, one of the wheels would always get stuck in the floor. And because the trolley was so heavy, it would take a considerable effort just to get it back out. Despite the increased effort, it seemed like everyone was okay with the trolley only having 3 wheels. even though a simple fix would have improved the entire system. While it was very easy to spot a missing wheel on a trolley in a butchery, it's harder to spot these missing components in life. I want you to think of your company or your team or your work as a trolley. What is the missing wheel? It might be a slow email server or an incorrect office flow. It might be as simple as hiring a Gen Z employee from Red and Yellow who can connect you to an entire generation. Identify the missing wheel, fix it, and then roll forward towards success. Lesson 4. After the first day in the butchery, an old back injury flared up. If I wanted my body to survive, I knew I needed to leave the heavy lifting team and get a knife in my hand. Thankfully, an opportunity arrived when Benita, a woman who was 7 months pregnant at the time, waved me over to help with her workload. Without hesitation, I joined her. As soon as the knife entered my hand, I knew everything was going to be okay. Within a few days, I felt like I was actually contributing to the factory, and I started bonding with the team. This experience taught me the power of a simple yet powerful repositioning. All I did was join Benita and pick up a knife, yet my entire experience of the butchery changed as a result. The great late Sir Ken Robertson highlights that when people are placed in roles that align with their abilities and interests, they perform better while experiencing greater satisfaction and creativity. In the same way, brands can also achieve this level of increased performance, experience, satisfaction, and creativity. At Red and Yellow, we love looking at the example of Terence Riley's positive impact at Stanley. Stanley flasks have always been known as male, green, and hot. But when Terence Riley decided to completely reposition their now famous quencher as female, colorful, and cold, the brand went from making $70 million to $750 million in revenue in just 4 years. Their core values didn't change. They simply put themselves in a position that would serve them and the people around them better. You can do this too. You just need to look out for your Benita who needs you to help her cut some meat. Lesson 5. My first few days alongside Benita were slow because I was overly concerned about making mistakes. I would obsess over every chunk of meat trying to make it look perfect. But as I looked around, I noticed I was the only one worrying about making small mistakes. Everyone else was simply doing their job, making delicious societies. This fear of making mistakes is becoming more prevalent amongst us youngsters thanks to social media and AI. Due to the digital age, we are so focused on avoiding mistakes that might echo into eternity online that we end up stifling creativity and growth, preventing us from moving forward or doing anything of meaning. Playing it safe won't change the world, and it won't lead to impactful campaigns or groundbreaking innovations. To make an impact, we have to be willing to take risks and make mistakes. To change this, we must anticipate this trend and encourage younger employees or colleagues to push past their safe zones. We need to create an environment where people are comfortable making mistakes. Only then will our work truly make a difference. So, in a world that expects perfect-looking societies, we need to be ready to make some imperfect ones too. Hashtag society, society. And lastly, lesson number 6. When I walked into the butchery, I had full intentions of becoming a butcher. So when I left, it felt like I'd failed. Little did I know that I'd enroll in Red and Yellow 2 months later, changing my life in the process. It's incredible to think that I wouldn't be here where I am now had I not tried to be a butcher. More importantly, I wouldn't be standing here today if I hadn't sucked up my pride, accepted that I'd made a mistake, and left. It was a painful journey that I had to endure in order to find my path. The same applies to you and the industry as a whole. As instant gratification takes hold of everything, we need to remember that the only way to find that thing we are looking for, whether it's a big idea, groundbreaking insight, or true calling, is by putting on a hairnet, getting our hands dirty, and taking our time to find it. If we do this together, we will create some truly beautiful things in the world. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for your time. It has been an absolute honor. A special thanks to everyone who helped bring this presentation together in every single way. My final question is this: how are you going to apply these lessons from the butchery in your life today?